Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. We'll be bringing you some superb Harris Walz parodies shortly. But let's start, Lefties, with some unintentional laughs, courtesy of rock legend Bruce Springsteen. No, this is not Pink or Tilda Swinton. It is actually the boss. And like all out of touch celebs, he has a message for America. I just hope his shirt is buttoned up here.
I'm supporting Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president and opposing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Now, I'm sure old mate Bruce, given his advanced years, will not resort to hysteria and hyperbole to scare the American public about a second Trump term. Surely he is better than that. Sadly, not.
Donald Trump is the most dangerous candidate for president in my lifetime. His disdain for the sanctity of our Constitution, the sanctity of democracy, the sanctity of the rule of law, and the sanctity of the peaceful transfer of power should disqualify him from the office of president ever again. He doesn't understand the meaning of this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American. On the other hand, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are committed to a vision of this country that respects and includes everyone.
Yes, everyone, particularly the more than 10 million illegal immigrants they've let into the country, and they want to fast track to citizenship. If you believe Bruce's crazy rant, then you probably think that Kamala Harris had nothing to do with the past 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration. But thankfully, President Joe Biden, remember him, made sure to remind the American public that she owns every failure. She was critical to all the key decisions that were made.
Well, I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
Thank you, President Biden. It's worth noting that he blindsided the Harris campaign by going into the White House briefing room to deliver those remarks. And it's the first time in his presidency that he's done that. So I think we know what he's thinking right now. Now, let's have some laughs. And I've got to say the Saturday Night Live crew have been bringing the laughs lately. And their parody of the vice presidential debate had some golden moments. This is champagne comedy.
Governor Walz, you claimed you were in Hong Kong during the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre when you were home in Minnesota. Can you explain that?
So I think what happened is I went to Epcot. You can go around the whole world, and I had a couple in the Germany section, and I thought I went to China. Anyway, I'm a knucklehead.
And spare a thought for Kamala and Doug watching the debate at home.
Okay, he's out there, he's doing his thing, whatever that may be.
Come on, just relax. You know, you haven't had a night off in 3 months. Do you want to watch something less stressful, like the Menendez Brothers show?
I don't know, Dougie. I kind of wish I had picked Josh right now.
Oh, Josh Shapiro?
No, Josh. Cabernet.
Look, Tim'll be fine. It's not like he's going to say something crazy.
I've become friends with school shooters.
You know what this skit needs is some Joe Biden, and Dana Carvey's Biden is very good indeed.
Why are they friends? Why are they vibing?
Hey, Mama, it's Joe Biden.
I can't talk right now. Tell him I'm not here.
No, like he's in the room.
Oh.
You're not here. I'll come back later.
No, Joe. Joe Biden, come in. Have a seat. It's nice and dry.
You've been watching this guy? Come on, Walz. What's wrong with that guy? He's crazy. Get your facts straight, Jack. You gotta hit him with a no joke. Here's the deal. Let me be clear. Anyway, guess what? And by the way...
Now, the real Kamala has been missing in action for most of the week as parts of the US were plunged into crisis in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which has left more than 200 dead, many more missing, and parts of the country looking like a war zone. But the VP had other things on her mind, like doing a podcast with the Call Her Daddy team. Oh, you don't know who they are? Let me familiarise you with their work, and apologies in advance for the content here.
How do you work with the and the
Okay,
on
so
a man?
The it really depends on the guy. Like
It
some
does.
guys don't like it.
Yeah.
Some have and you can on them.
Yes.
Put them all. Like
Yeah.
some
Other
guys
are like,
yeah, whenever
Yeah.
you try to do it.
That's all we could play you. That's all we could play you because it was that filthy. That's who Kamala Harris wants to talk to, putting decency back in the White House, folks. Let's look at some of that chat. Mercifully, it wasn't as graphic as what we just played you. In fact, the whole thing seemed to be about, I don't know, the patriarchy and obsessions about abortion.
I want to take a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision
I know what you're going to ask.
about a man's body? Let's just
No.
pause.
No.
Is there any law?
No. No. It's no.
Yeah, except the millions of men who've been drafted into war, forced to put their body on the line for their country. Did they forget about that? And plenty more lefties with my next guest. Let's now hear from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre claiming that FEMA funds desperately needed for Hurricane Helene victims right now weren't diverted to illegal immigrants at any point. She categorically denied that. She said it was categorically false, only it's not. Let's go to the tape.
It's just categorically false. It is not true. It is a false statement. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. Funding is also available through FEMA's Emergency Food and Shelter Program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Let's bring in Alex Stein, now host of Prime Time with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, tell me what is happening with efforts to help Hurricane Helene victims. Do we even know right now how many victims there are, how many have died, how many are still missing, how many are without vital resources?
Well, all the numbers are very unclear. And Glenn Beck, one of the top broadcasters at the Blaze, he's actually on the ground right now helping people. And even FEMA is stopping Glenn Beck and his charity Mercury One from providing supplies for those that need it the most. So something weird is going on. The conspiracy theorist in me thinks that they don't want them to be able to vote, but I don't know. I don't understand why FEMA spent all of our resources on helping illegal immigrants when American citizens lost everything they've owned their whole entire life, and they try to give them a $750 check. It just shows you how incompetent here we are in America.
I think it's absolutely disgraceful what's happening. And we saw it in Hawaii as well when we had those devastating fires. The response, the victims seem to be really forgotten, and it's happening again. It seems like they're diverted by other things rather than helping their citizens, which should be their number one priority of any administration. And FEMA itself, Alex, seems to be, like most government organisations, completely captured by far-left idiocy. Here is the Director of Training and Education talking about misgendering.
Being a migrant trans woman, there is an undocumented concern. There is also a concern of whether they would trust the places that are offering shelter that are faith-based because of the way they've been responded to in the past. Then if they are accepted, what would happen in terms of misgendering.
But apparently any criticism of FEMA pointing out the serious issues with the organisations is unacceptable. Let's hear from Chief Deanne Criswell here.
And when you have this dangerous rhetoric like you're hearing, it creates fear in our own employees. And we need to make sure we're getting help to the people who need it.
Surely they don't think FEMA is above criticism. I think it's absolutely fine for people to point out the shortcomings of this response because, like you said, you've got people on the ground there, volunteers, who seem to be doing more to help people than a government organisation who's tasked with the job of doing that.
Well, FEMA did a terrible job in the response to Katrina not that long ago. I guess now it's about 15 years ago. But FEMA is just very incompetent. And this shows you that they're more worried about putting, tampons in the men's makeshift restrooms instead of actually helping these citizens that need it. So it's absolutely insane that DEI is being infected into our emergency response group in here in America. I mean, it's just absurd, Rita. I just cannot believe it. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It is, only it's tragic because we know, well, we don't know the final tallies, but we already know more than 200 people at least lost their lives in this devastating hurricane. And to have the sort of inadequate response, and inadequate is really downplaying it, is shocking. It should really shame the Biden-Harris administration. Now, just a moment ago, I showed a clip from Kamala Harris's appearance on the podcast Call Me Daddy. It's a very racy, risque podcast at times. Alex, what did you make of her decision to, one, appear on this podcast and what she had to say?
Well, I wasn't surprised at all. There's a lot of rumors that Kamala Harris has, dated a lot of important men. The mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, Montel. Well, she probably knows a lot about dating, so I think that she would be perfect for the podcast.
Well, from what I could work out, much of the podcast was about abortion. That seems to be the chief topic talked about, and the patriarchy and sexism and women being second-class citizens. Does that sort of messaging still resonate? I know abortion is a huge issue for many committed Democrat voters, but surely the Democrats need something beyond just abortion to take to the election. They can't take the Harris-Biden administration's record. Is abortion going to be enough to get them over the line?
I don't know, but more people are worried about abortion than they are about the economy. And what frustrates me, and this is a little criticism of Trump, and I know he talks about it a lot more, than Kamala Harris. But, we have 22 veterans that commit suicide a day on average here in America, and I haven't heard them say anything about helping, the people that risk their lives. And you said it best, these podcasts, they talk about women's rights, but what about all the young men that got drafted to serve and potentially die for this country? So it's just really sad. I wish our country would take better care of not only its vets, but the victims of hurricanes, instead of just giving our resources to illegal immigrants that really, they don't have any American pride. They're not even grateful. Somebody that passes a citizenship test, they're grateful to be an American. The resources that they're taking are coming out of the hands of people that really need it.
Now, you talked about doing something for men who've been drafted, and it's also young men these days who seem to be forgotten. I want to get your thoughts on this fascinating chat between Eric Weinstein and Chris Williamson on why so many young men, teenagers, are becoming right-wing.
Have you seen the data showing the movement of teenage boys politically to the right? Have you been looking at this?
Well, where else are they going to go?
It's a good question.
I mean, I had a teenage boy. I still have one, but he's 18 now. And I watched them be pushed farther and farther right by their schools. You suck. All of your instincts are bad. These girls are amazing. Look at you. You're pathetic. Be less masculine and more attractive. You're just barking at them constantly. They're not moving right. They're moving out of your stupid way. You've given them what? Nothing. Nothing. One of my son's friends died recently by his own hand. And I don't know what kind of pressures he was put under. But I watched those kids go through this pressure cooker created by this crazy, parasitized, left-wing educational movement. Get away from our sons. Get away from our daughters, get away from our sons and away from our daughters. It's not left or right. I don't have a Republican bone in my body. Get the crazy people who do not understand human development away from our children.
Oh, that's powerful. I've got a teenage son, so hearing that, yeah, that resonates with me. Even at a boys' school, they're told constantly about so-called toxic masculinity and told to, they're going to grow up to be predators, 1 in 3, and all sorts of really ugly messaging that no child should face. And we subject our boys to this constantly in the culture, in the schools. It never stops. What's your response to what you just heard there from Eric Weinstein?
Well, everything you said and everything Eric Weinstein said is exactly correct. And, I was watching Sunday football and I noticed the Los Angeles Rams, they have male cheerleaders now, but not like in college football where, they help stunt. These are men, non-binary dressed men that are doing the female dances. And this is a kid's game. Football is the biggest game here in America. So these kids can't even watch a football game without getting some sort of weird sexual indoctrination. And I'm not saying men can't be cheerleaders, but they don't have to pretend to be the girl cheerleaders. There's boy cheerleaders and there's girl cheerleaders. There doesn't need to be non-binary cheerleaders. So if the football is this indoctrinating, then imagine what the schools are. Imagine what the media is. It's absolutely terrible to be a young man in the world that we've created for him.
Well, yeah, we would never, ever suggest to young women that there's toxic femininity and that they need to abandon their toxic traits and focus on being a positive feminine force. You just would never do that to a young woman, but we do it to boys, and the fact that they struggle in academically compared to girls, it seems to be an afterthought as well. If it was the other way around, we'd probably have a million programs to redress that. But with boys, we just accept that they are going to be behind girls academically from primary school all the way to college. Now, filmmaker Robbie Starbuck, he's a warrior. He's getting stuff done. He's exposed the DEI policies of another big corporate. This time it's car giants Toyota, Lexus. And it seems he's achieved great success again here, Alex, by just exposing some of the political activism this corporation is involved in. And they've responded by saying, okay, we're going to no longer be involved in these pride events, these LGBTQ children's summer camps, and they're going to limit the involvement they have in other ESG type activities. If this is all accurate as it's being reported, it's a huge win, and it shows you what one person can do when they just look at a company's policies and expose them accordingly.
Well, Robbie Starbuck is incredible for all the work that he's done to expose these companies. And let's be real, I'm not trying to be a commercial for Toyota, but Toyota and Lexus are the best car brands in the world. They're the most dependable. So I think they realized, listen, we need to make good cars instead of trying to virtue signal to a small minority of people that probably won't even buy those cars. And if they were Subaru, this would make sense. But Lexus is one of the best car brands, and they are not going to cut corners. They always make the best vehicles, in my personal opinion. So good for them. It's the right move.
I think we need to do a full commercial disclosure with you, because I think you've got some sort of a deal with Lexus after that endorsement. Alex Stein, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita. I always appreciate it.